let's move on now to the AFC East division preview, where Ryan and we are going to break down each team's playoff chances and who we feel is going to win the division at the end of the video. But before we do that, be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the bell to get notified when we create new content. We are doing a division preview for all 8 divisions in the NFL. And also, when we hit the regular season, we will be doing weekly prediction videos of every single regular season game. So if you want to see your team's prediction videos on our channel, be sure to subscribe and ring the bell, as it's the easiest way to get notified. And Ryan, let's get into it here.
Let's do it.
The AFC East now with Aaron Rodgers is absolutely loaded. It is technically all 4 of these teams can make the playoffs, but with how loaded the rest of the AFC is, I just don't see it. Maybe just one team makes the playoffs because maybe they all start beating each other. But let's start out with the first team here, and they were the one in the in the news the most in the offseason. That was the New York Jets. They got a new head coach and new offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett, former new head coach for the Denver Broncos, but also former quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. And to me, it's so funny just because with what Nathaniel Hackett went through last year, whether it was his fault or not, it really makes me hesitant to be like, Jets are going to win the division. You just look at everything. But the team as a whole, Robert Saleh is the head coach. He's got that defense back. Garrett Wilson is a bona fide top 10, top 15 receiver. He's a clear number 1. And they got other guys that Rodgers likes to play with from Green Bay. Just overall, just a good receiver room. Then you do have Breece Hall. He is coming back from ACL injury, but top-notch running back. It's very unfortunate when he went down. But it was the one thing, it really was and this was our joke the entire offseason, they were one quarterback away from winning the Super Bowl because this defense is amazing.
Yeah. No, and to me, I think they actually got a little bit better. They added Quentin Jefferson, then they go out and they get Will McDonald in the draft. And this Jets team on paper might have the best roster in the NFL. They have the number 1 quarterback, most likely. They have the number 1 corner, right? They have a top 10 wide receiver, right? Quinnen Williams just signed a huge extension because he is up there with Aaron Donald for best defensive tackle in the NFL. That's how good of a season he had last year. And you just look at it and it's okay, this team is scary good. But then you look, Aaron Rodgers is 40, Nathaniel Hackett. Granted, last time Nathaniel Hackett and Aaron Rodgers were on the same team, Aaron Rodgers won an MVP. I do believe that was questionable, as Tom Brady had one of the most efficient seasons a quarterback has ever had in the NFL during then, but that's neither here nor there. So for me, it is crazy to look at this roster and be like, maybe they can't win the division. And so I like what they have going for them. But before we spend too much time on the Jets, let's move on to the next team on the list, and that's the New England Patriots. The Patriots are in a very weird spot because this is the best team that Mac Jones has ever had. But they have, I believe, the 3rd toughest schedule in the NFL. And then they added Bill O'Brien, so this offense should be a lot better. Yet I still think they're the worst team in the division.
They don't have – they are like the Tennessee Titans of the AFC East. Offensively, just very consistent, but defensively, super hard to score on. Offensively, they love to just run down your throat with Ramondre Stevenson and then do a lot of play action and have a pocket passer who is somewhat athletic to where he can run a little bit. So Mac Jones and Ryan Tannehill are, I think, comparable. So, but then when you look at the other teams in the AFC East, there's definitely flash and flair, or they have or there's an MVP.
Well, there's a star
on the team.
All the other teams, and the Patriots, you look at it and it's just a very good accumulation of.
It's a military group, essentially. Belichick's the captain, and he's got a bunch of his grunts down. And they all do their jobs perfectly. For the most part. So it is going to be interesting to watch the Patriots. They are not going. It all depends on how Bill O'Brien implements his offense and how well they receive it. But they're not going to be blowing teams out. I have a feeling there's going to be a lot of 21-17 type grinded out games. And that's going to be the type of game that they want to win. And a lot of teams don't like to play that way.
And I do think the Patriots will probably actually have the best defense in the AFC East. The way that this defense is set up, I think they're going to give a lot of teams fits. I know the Jets, personnel-wise, have better players, but I think statistically the Patriots might have a better defense, just coaching-wise and everything. So, like, that is something going for them. If this offense can take a step forward, or let's 2 or 3 steps forward, then I think that they can really be competitive with some of these teams in the AFC. But next up in the AFC East is going to be the Miami Dolphins. I am not as high on the Miami Dolphins as I feel like other people are. And I feel like what they've done is they've just accumulated like star players instead of actually like built a solid team, right? And I've kind of had this same opinion throughout the offseason. They go out, they get Jalen Ramsey, Tyreek Hill is a great player. Jalen Waddle is a great player, but they neglect the offensive line. This defensive front seven has good edge rushers, but they're not super solid against the run. So it's just a really interesting dynamic that I think the Dolphins are trying to play because they're just trying to turn football games into track meets. And that worked for them a lot last year when Tua was healthy. And so I'm very curious to see what it's going to look like in 2023 if Tua can stay healthy.
Yeah. Well, but that's where I think they match up well against a lot of the teams within their division.
Yeah.
Like the Jets defense, I think, can stymie them overall. But against the Patriots defense, I mean, no one you know better than me, but like no one's going to be able to guard Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. Miami's had your guys' number over the past couple of years. Against Buffalo, it's I think I feel. I mean, they went 1-1 last year. Miami almost beat Buffalo up in Buffalo last year. So
with Skylar Thompson at quarterback.
No, well, that was in the playoffs. Yes.
Yeah.
I forgot about that game actually. I was talking about the regular season game. Tua was with that one.
Oh, okay.
In the regular season, but you're right though. It's so they can overall contend, and that front seven can get after quarterbacks and can definitely attack the weaknesses of vulnerable offensive lines, which some of the Jets and Buffalo have. So I think they just match up well against all the teams in the AFC East. The biggest thing is going to be is Tua can stay healthy. I think the second year in this Mike McDaniel offense, that I think is going to be huge for the overall development of this team and just getting used to the system and also getting used to playing with all these guys. Then on top of that, I think having Vic Fangio as defensive coordinator here, also getting Jalen Ramsey, he and Xavier Howard have, I think, 1-2 years left of good football left in the tank. So
and actually Jalen Ramsey just tore his meniscus. He's out for the next 2 to 3 months. So
he tore. I thought it was just a pulled hammy, or maybe I was thinking of somebody else.
No, that is somebody else. I think he tore his meniscus, and so
shoot. Okay, never mind.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit different then. So I thought he pulled his hammy, but anyways, I digress. Well, even then though, I still think that this defense overall under Fangio. We'll say about what it was, and will be that aggressive stuff getting after quarterback with Jalen Phillips leading the way.
Yeah, no, and I do think this defense could be good. I don't think that they will be with New England or New York in terms of like statistical defense, but I think in terms of being opportunistic and creating turnovers and getting sacks, I think they'll be pretty good.
Well, but and just the last point though, with the way they want to play on offense, their defense is going to kind of match that. They go look at the Baltimore game from last year. Like they want it to be a 42. They prefer 42-0, but it's like they want to just be throwing it all over the field, and then
the Baltimore game was a little lucky. Baltimore quit after 3 quarters, but that's neither here nor there. I just think like they want to turn it into track meets because they definitely have the fastest team. Like that's not really a question. So just to me, the biggest question for them is if Tua can stay healthy.
Yeah.
So, but lastly, in the AFC, before we get into our actual prediction, is going to be the Buffalo Bills. And I think you and I have a fairly unique take on the Bills. And so you want to tell everyone what that is?
Well, I would just say I think that they potentially they're one of the teams who I think could potentially not make the playoffs. Yeah, because I don't think that they're good, like they've fallen off a bunch. But I think they've kind of stayed stagnant, maybe dropped a little bit, while the rest of the AFC, I think, has caught up to them.
Yeah.
So I think when I mentioned earlier that there's a 6 to 14, like there's not very much difference. I think that they're kind of in that 6th spot, that 7th spot, but 14 is not really that far away. And so they did address the offensive line because one of the big issues that this team has had is just consistent running ability, and they haven't really had that throughout the entirety of Josh Allen's career there. They have been he's been the leading rusher, I think, every single year that he's been there, or at least over the past couple. And Stephon Diggs is getting older. Gabriel Davis, who I really like, seems to be inconsistent when it comes to his overall production. Some of that might be also too just because of how they play offense, but you need to be able to run the ball. And this defense is getting a little bit older. Von Miller's coming off in ACL. There's definitely some question marks, and other teams in the AFC East have definitely caught up to them.
Yeah, so to me, I think you hit it on the nail on the head in the beginning. I think they've stayed a little stagnant, maybe dropped off a little bit, especially on the defensive side of the ball. You look, Trey White is getting really old, or not really old, but I think he's approaching 30 pretty quickly. They lost Tremaine Edmonds, who was their signal caller and captain of that defense last year and was a really big impact player for them. He's gone. They replaced him with a rookie. I know they still have Matt Milano, Jordan Poyer. I actually think Micah Hyde is back as well. But all of those guys are well into 30. And so it's very concerning to kind of see like how much are they really going to be able to compete with a lot of these offenses. So I'm looking forward to see how the AFC plays out this year, but let's go ahead and kind of give our final prediction on who we think is going to win the division.
Yeah. For me, I am actually, I know not trying to contradict myself from what I said at the beginning, but I'm going to go with the Jets. If you go and look at this team and the overall aspect of it, the overall strengths of it last year, it really was just the quarterback position. Zach Wilson, Mike White, Joe Flacco just were not the guys. If Aaron Rodgers could just be 75% of what he was in his 2021 season year. Last year, I think it was really tough for him because he had very young receivers. He didn't really have any help outside. He was also a little banged up as well throughout the second half of the season.
Yeah.
I think that offensive line is going to be a little bit of a question mark, but Robert Saleh has that defense in check. And I think that team as a whole, I think Garrett Wilson is really going to like Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. So I'm going to go with the Jets. When it comes to the playoff team, I do think Buffalo is going to squeak in there. I think Miami and the New England, I think, are just going to fall short. Okay.
Yeah, so I think we're pretty similar here. I think that the Jets are going to win. I can't pick Buffalo. I don't have a lot of faith in that Buffalo defense, especially all the offenses in this division are going to be much better. And then I really struggle to pick Miami. I still don't think this defense is going to be super great. Like, it might be average, but I don't think it's going to be good enough to cover up, I think, some of the faults of injuries, old age, and whatnot. Yeah. And then I also can't pick the Dolphins because of that offensive line. I think at some point or another, Tua is going to get hurt, and then that team is just going to fall off a cliff, kind of what they did last year midway. And I think New England is very well-rounded, but I think the Jets are even more well-rounded with better players, right? Yeah. Like, New England doesn't have a Garrett Wilson. New England doesn't have a Sauce Gardner. Hopefully Christian Gonzalez can be that. But the Jets they're so well-rounded, and they have that top-level like A-list play, like those A-list players that you just need to really compete at a high level. And I think the Jets take it. I think New England and Miami compete for like this one of the wild card spots. I don't think Buffalo will be in that competition because they have, I think, the toughest schedule in the NFL this year. So it's going to be interesting.
Well, it's going to be tough because then Buffalo is going to be playing Kansas City, Jacksonville, and Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. 3 very tough games, let alone then the 6 division games that they have. So, and I forgot which division that they're crossing over with. But
which one? The AFC East?
Yeah.
They play the NFC East and the AFC West.
Oh, so then they're playing them the Eagles, Cowboys, Giants.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how they all how they're able to manage the schedule here. And I agree with you. I think that they will make the wild card. That's something that there's enough there, but it's going to be close. I would not be surprised if they don't make it.
Yeah, no, it's going to be very interesting to watch. But let's go ahead and wrap up this episode of the Tracy Take. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe and leave a comment down below on who you think is going to win the AFC East. We're very excited to watch this division, so leave a comment down below. And other than that, we will see you guys next time.